All right. Welcome to After Hours. We're here in Mountain Man Outdoors.
Back again.
Back again. Old Forge, New York. So, one of the things that we do all the time to stay ahead of the curve is we try to bring in every new boat that's coming out, get, at least a couple off the first run, get them here, as much so that people can get that boat while it's nice, new, and crispy, as we can get in it and figure out if it's going to be a winner or a flop, right? Usually, as long as I'm not too fat to fit in it, we can figure it out. But the thing that we've noticed over the last couple of years is, because we both started paddling relatively in the same period of creeker style, let's see.
It's Adirondack, upstate New York, creeker style, yeah.
Well, no, I mean like boats. So, when I came into it, it was Hefes, super round displacement, Nomads, original Nomads, super round displacements, Jackson Rocker, pretty much a cigar tube, no rocker.
That's a villain.
Then the villain was the same thing with rocker and a little flatter, a little more of an hourglass to it. And then out of nowhere, and then your river runner was where you saw 8-9 foot boat, 8 foot, 80 gallons, or a small as 7 foot, 70 gallons, large as 8.5 feet, 90 gallons. So sizes have also increased and length.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Good thing.
Thank God.
And it really helps, first of all. But the other thing that's changed is we're starting to see flat spots on the bottom of our creekers. People aren't looking for river runners anymore. They want a creeker that can do big water, run rivers, and stomp booths. So they want that one boat.
Makes it easy.
And then over the last couple of years, we're starting to see, ever since the tuna, which is probably the biggest 2 impacts Ballistic will ever have on boating now that they're gone, is 6 foot playboats, spud playboats, and radical bow rocker.
Yeah.
Right?
Agree.
Although now with Piranha doing those, what do they call them? The hookers?
Hooker.
Right.
Hooker thigh.
Look back at Ballistic. That's definitely where that came from. And they were scary. You could totally drown from those things.
Right.
Oh man, I got in a tiny Canadian's boat, and I didn't think I was ever going to get back out.
It would hold you in the boat.
Oh yeah.
You were worried about being
And there were warning stickers all over it. And I was like, ah! It's fine. No, I've paddled with lap belts. I mean, I haven't paddled with lap belts. Don't do it. And it's way safer than those things.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. If you do it wrong, it literally gets all the way around your leg. Oh, it's bad. But if you do it properly, I think they're awesome. I wouldn't do it in a creeker, though.
So you mentioned a couple boats I'm not too familiar with, and I started in 2001, excuse me. Subbed to 1 for a 0.
Shorted yourself.
Starting in 2001 down in Auburn, Alabama. And I started in a river runner, of course. So the first creek boat on my radar, and there's been a ton out there, and I know everybody knows all the different models that have been out there. I know from 2006 essentially on because that's when I've been in the industry. The Nomad 8.5 was my first creek boat, and the first one that really came across my radar.
It's the first creek boat I got in and felt immediately like a better boater.
Felt at home.
Yeah.
So that was a game changer. How was the Hefe? I mean, the Hefe, you hear about the Hefe, and I'm familiar with the Hefe. I don't know which one came first, the 8.5 Nomad or the Hefe. What was your? So
whereas the side profile on a Nomad was very round, a Hefe was much flatter, a la Remix.
Interesting.
So you had
the bottom of the hull.
Yeah. So the hull, what they did was they made it wider so that the bottom had all of that curvature, but then it had kind of like an oval shaped flat spot under the seat. Very, I mean, not like genuinely flat, but flatter. If you look at a Delta, same kind of idea. And a Delta V, I'm sorry. And then it came back up, and then in order to not make it an absolute, Cadillac of boats, just an absolute monster, they just basically flattened off the top. So
that's where you get, and I heard it from you, that they say the Delta V is an improved Hefe.
Right, which looks shockingly like a stomper.
Which looks shocking. It does. Because my experience, Nomad 8.5, best boat on earth, got to paddle a couple others, got into a Hefe Grande. Sorry Woody, sorry Shane, I wasn't a big fan personally.
Traitor.
To each his own.
I loved my
love
Hefe.
Liquid Logic, don't get me wrong, but the Hefe Grande was just not my boat. But then the Stomper came out. And the Stomper, for me, was it. That was my favorite boat.
It was ubiquitous. Yeah. Nowhere you could go around here not see someone in a Stomper. And they were it. I can think of people today, well, one person, hey Todd, who still, he literally called and berated Liquid Logic until they dug around the whole warehouse and found him the Stomper in his color.
Wow.
It was a whole thing, and when he cracks that, I don't know what's gonna happen. He'll probably get an Delta V in blue.
We'll have to buy the mold.
We could do that.
There you go.
I don't know what we do with it. I already have one mold in my living room. I think that's plenty.
Yeah.
But
what mold is it?
I'm not gonna say on camera.
You don't have to talk to Alex. Private message.
After hours. But I think it's really interesting how the last couple of years. I mean, so we came in the same period, and you'd bring a beginner in, and you'd give these beginners these half-step boats, right? You give them, like what comes to mind for me is the Wavesport Diesel.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, here's this banana rocker profile with a totally flat spot, stem to stern, and all of our creaking outfitting, half the hard points. Let's go paddle class 2.
You know, there was just a diesel on my most recent order form from Confluence.
They still make that thing?
Apparently there was one left in the factory. And I tried to get it, because I still get people that come in from
looking for them.
Looking for
yeah,
a diesel.
they kill them and they still want them.
It was a blem and it was a good deal, but I guess I spoke too late.
I guess.
Anyway.
That's also, side note, that's an interesting thing that creekers do that playboaters you don't see do. Creekers want to paddle the same boat for consistency forever. But
true. I can see that.
It's as long as I've been in the sport for the last decade or so, it's always been that way.
But here you had this banana diesel.
Right. So you give them these banana diesels at 7.5 to 8.5 feet, and then you'd chop a foot off of it and 20-30 gallons off, and you'd give them look at the same boat that they had out for. Don't really get a play boat, get a fuse. Right. It's like basically this spooned out, long, really wide, the worst foot position ever. Well, I don't know, there's some really bad 90s playboats, but super uncomfortable playboat thingy that doesn't surf, doesn't do tricks. Whereas now, unfortunately, not enough people go and get in real playboats and learn how to do all of that awesome stuff. And I think a lot of people would be better boaters if they did.
I agree.
But
true words.
Harsh words for a lot of people who don't want to spend the time.
Get in the playboat.
Get in your playboat. Now we see these things that are almost unrecognizable. 90 gallons, when the Stomper came out in 90 gallons for a large, I remember people just being like, that's too big. That's way too much boat. Where's my 70-gallon Stomper?
Great point. Yeah, I remember. So I came on board at Mountain Man in 2009, right after Moose Fest 2009. Great time. Got to paddle Moose Fest. Came to work day one right after Moose Fest. A little rough. I remember the Villain coming to market. And I don't remember if it's 2010 or 20. I think it was 2010. and it was like 100-gallon boat. And I just remember...
The large. Oh, it was big.
And I just remember being like, holy... And then I remember talking to Woody when the Stomper came out at 90 and being like, Woody, that's big. But oh my gosh, the right shapes, the right designs, and that extra volume is just, it's money.
Yeah, I wonder when people were paddling overflows and crossfires, if anyone asked what the volume was, or if they just went, oh, it's 11.5 feet long.
Probably focus more on the length. You're
right.
You're right.
So now we do this thing, and there's a lot of commentary out there that who knows what these numbers mean. Like, volume to me would mean the amount of fluid you could pack inside if the cockpit rim was leveled, right? Whereas displacement, would that be if you duct tape over the cockpit or put a skirt on it and submerge it, how much it pushes out of a pool? And those would be two different things because you're either adding or subtracting the volume of the plastic and the hardware.
Weigh in on Wade.
Right. Weigh in on Wade. Might have to do that. Sorry, Wade. But you know, I mean, that could be a couple gallons. It would be a couple gallons of raw materials that could throw it off. But yeah, we paddle bigger boats. They're shorter, and increasingly they've got flat spots on the bottom. Yeah. All of a sudden in your creeker, like, where did that come from, and how do you feel about it?
Where did it come from? That'd be a question for Shane and Woody and those guys. You know, I think you mentioned that the first, you feel like you recall the first, what I term a hybrid hull, being a mix of displacement and planing. You refer to as a semi-displacement, which is probably a better,
it sounds good.
Yeah, a good accurate description. Semi-displacement, semi-planing. It's a little bit of both. What I call hybrid, I recall seeing in the Stomper, you said it was not a fluid boat, but a ballistic boat.
I don't know about that. I would struggle to figure. I think the Stomper was probably the first full-on creek boat that had 6 inches, 8 inches of flat.
That's what I recall from my recollection of the boats that I've sold and been familiar with and paddled.
Well, that was advertised as a creeker because again, the diesel had been out for a year or two.
Exactly.
And that was a river runner. And it had.
But in a creek boat, to see that flatter, more planing style hull with displacement, that Stomper was game changer for me.
Right.
And that year and the year after, Stompers sold like hotcakes. I think it gave the paddler that confidence and comfort, being a little bit, having that stability, mixed with plenty of rocker, being able to maneuver and turn that boat well, and then you add in some nice bow rocker, it's going to go over everything, resurface quick.
And then once it was cool to put a flat spot in, it became kosher to put on hard chines.
True.
You know, so like right now we're running all sorts of stuff in Niners. Mm-hmm. Then suddenly Nirvanas. That is flat as a playboat, and it's a hit. But when they made it to put the exact same concept into the Jackson Hero, didn't work.
Yeah, well, the Hero didn't work so well, but the Karma then.
The Karmas were good.
It was the Stomper, and then I recall the Hero existed, and there were a few sales there, but it was the Karma that I feel like, if that's your recollection, was the new and improved, again, hybrid or semi-planing or semi-displacement.
Sure, hull. I mean, whether it is or isn't, it sure looked like it. So, but I would say the difference there, maybe that's a good case study, because the difference there is that the Hero is marketed as, let's take the exact same plane that you have in your playboat, we'll add volume, turn it into a river runner, semi-creeker, and you'll have an easy transition from one to the other to go do stuff. But the problem was, it was a spud. It was a total bathtub, and it needed a lot of work. They did a second version, which was better. Or, I guess that would basically actually be the third. The final version was by far the best. The one that came out once the villain was already out. But we took that concept, and then that concept went into the Zen and the Karma, and what we did was we got narrower and longer, more rocker, faster. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we started taking our spud boats and slowly, basically, hefeing them. We made them a little wider, so we had more stability. We made a flat spot on the bottom of the rocker profile for slides and splatting boofs. And then I remember when the tuna came out, it was radical. It was almost unrecognizable. I was like, basically, I think I joked with someone that it was a kayaker didn't belong in that boat, a sailor did. It looked more like a sailboat on paper than an actual kayak, and yet it's basically the foundation, that the springboard that Waka jumped off of, and they're just making more and more and more of those boats, and everyone's playing catch up. I mean, across the board, everyone at this point has had to get a toe in the water to chase them.
Yeah. Hence the Piranha
Macno, which right now is our favorite boat, both of us.
Is it Macno, Machno?
I don't know. If they would just give it simpler names, I could pronounce it right.
Anyway, the Piranha Macno was born,
but it combines all of those things.
It does.
Really aggressive bow rocker, squared stern, which then we haven't touched on yet, but whatever the science is, it works. Whether it's the fact that it's like sacrificial drag or it cuts better, but it's something that's been in racing sailboats for decades, and we finally brought it, came out of the torpedo.
I've heard it gives it that stability, because in the surf industry they talk about pintail versus
fishtail versus,
I want to say a squared tail. I'm not a surfer. I do love surfing, but I wouldn't call myself a surfer. At any rate, I hear that squared off end gives the boat more stability because of those wider points on the stern of the boat.
Yeah, I don't know. It works.
Yeah.
I haven't really figured out what it is.
That'd be a question for Charlie Wilson.
Yeah.
With Swift Canoe Kayak.
That would be a good one for him.
He knows his hydrodynamics.
Although I can't think of a single boat Swift makes that has a square stern.
He knows hydrodynamics.
Close enough.
At any rate.
But no, the Macno, it combines all of those things. The other thing that I think that we're going to see more and more of is this kind of tent peak on creekers. Because, man, that surfaces. Yeah. And then also...
well, can I pause for a second? Speaking of this peaked bow, we got to give it to Prana for the peaked bow, because that's who I recall introducing us to the peaked bow.
Bit on the tuna too.
And then this, I don't know what the term they're using yet, but this stealth-like design to their longboat, this 12R. I mean, if you look at the 12R, 2019 is going to be a big year for the 12R. You're sitting in the cockpit. The cockpit keyhole comes together, and then the boat just dives down. And it is.
They just shave that volume off.
They just shave that off so that right where your paddle blade is, right where your hands are rotating as you take stroke to stroke, I mean, the chances of you bumping that boat are just lessened. So they really took a lot of thought, and it's just like, it's one of those simple things. Well, why didn't I think of that? But they really molded that boat so that you've got plenty. So props to Prana for improving the decks of these rad new whitewater boats.
Yeah. Thumb savers.
Proceed from the deck of the Macno.
Well, what I would say, actually, if I could change, is that I think that with the props to Keller for bringing the Brap out, making tadpole boats cool again. The thing that I really picked up from paddling these again is my entire career I had taken sterns for granted. And having come from playboating exclusively, I don't know how I did that, but you paddle these boats, you know, do like a spouty boof or something where the curtain's really landing on your stern in a mock Canoe, any of these boats with got a lot of volume behind you, and you just launch, right? Like that you get that stability. You've got EJ talks about the pumpkin seed effect, where if you pinch a pumpkin seed between two fingers, it shoots out.
Yeah.
And that's how he describes how he designs his bows for loops in playboats. But it's the same basic concept of you get squeezed and fire out, and it makes landing boofs easier, launching out of holes. Yeah, I mean, all of land and leave, all that stuff's so much easier, and it's why the lack of it is what I would define as sporty in the tadpole boats. So we're also starting to see more and more butt junk in the trunk on these boats. And now that everything's going to 9 feet for 9-foot short boat racing, there's a lot of that. Not to beat on the redheaded stepchild in the creeker yard, but if you look at the Delta V, it has absolutely none of those things. And it's our worst selling creeker.
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, it's just off camera. Thankfully, someone bought one.
That boat for us sold well last year.
Did it really?
Yeah. We sold through all our inventory last year in 2017. In 2018, the 73 was brought new to the market.
The two sizes being an 88 and a 73.
Correct. And it was a late seller. One that I guess I could say didn't move until it was discounted. But then it moved. So...
Yeah, but as a retailer, is that any good?
No, it's not healthy for any of us.
But, I would love to talk to somebody who maybe, Delaware Water Gap in Pennsylvania is it's home of dem shit, it's very piranha heavy. But that style of whitewater, the southeast, super technical, all it's got to do is boof and destroy. Mm-hmm. That boat does that pretty well, as long as you're in the right weight range. But one of the things where it goes opposite everybody else is, when everyone is taking their large and going to 96-ish, and their mediums and going up to 90-ish, like the Phantom's 90. Mm-hmm. That's 88, and it's a small 88.
I agree with you there. At 200 pounds, 5 feet 11 inches, or thereabout, 5'10", 5'11".
I'm sinking it.
I'm almost sinking it. It's it was a good boat. I liked it, but I for sure enjoyed more volume.
If I put somebody in it, because we had it, I went out. I remember I had an epic swim in it. Fantastic video.
Where was that?
Last hole on the Indy, body, circ, the whole thing. And basically what we decided was it's got all the right bones. We're just way too big in this thing. So I spent the next month with it on my roof rack and just shoving people in it against their will. And we basically figured out 185 is where you want to be in that boat.
185 is the sweet spot for the Delta.
Yeah,
okay.
You can paddle it smaller, especially if you're somebody that might takes a pin kit or take stuff with you, and you're gonna bring it up into that range. Yeah, you can totally do that. But
over 185.
Oh, there seems to be a tight sweet spot. As always, demo everything.
Thank you, Alex. That's just the best way to go. You wouldn't buy a car
without test driving it? No way. Definitely wouldn't order one off the internet.
Exactly. At any rate, so Delta V, the Mach Canoe though, what got us onto the subject of the Delta V was the Mach Canoe and its stern, voluminous end. Mm-hmm. It almost kind of reminds me of like a bee. You know how bees have that big back end before their stinger?
Their thorax?
Yeah.
If that's the right term.
Thorax, or just, maybe we're thinking of a movie.
I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, it really is important. If you get pushed back, or if you're a boater and you have a habit of leaning back, it's actually going to catch you. The best thing that I like about in the summer taking these these tadpoles, you're not gonna get stern bitched, and if you do, you're gonna get stern rocketed to the surface like a ballistic missile out of a submarine. But I think the best thing about the tadpole boat trend, about taking out your Brap, Axiom, Ripper, is it beats it out of you.
It's a big game changer.
Yeah, I mean, if it's going to teach you one thing, it's going to teach you to land your boat with a tightened core, forward in control.
I agree. Good point. And yeah, on that note, again, 2018, we sold a lot of River Runners, squirty boats.
A lot of them.
We did.
They're still hot.
The Axiom, the Ripper, the RPM, the Antics, and the Mixmaster, and the Brap, and the Party Brap.
Well, and
Did you just count that out, right? Are there really 7 different squirty boats that we're selling?
And did you count you counted the Antics?
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are just the ones we have, and we don't have every brand.
No.
I mean, dude, I think Korn over at Soul put out like 5 different tadpole boats.
Wow.
It's crazy between the 303 and the whatevers.
I'm not surprised.
Not surprised. Not surprised. But yeah, and then, by the flip side, when I'm running races, I see more and more people at races, at festivals, running stuff in those tadpole boats. So because we've already, we're kind of meeting in the middle in terms of just that semi-displacement thing. Yeah, are people going to get less utility out of creekers, and are more people going to own just those than creekers? That's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, that is a whole nother discussion, but you've got to diversify your portfolio.
I think so. There's no replacement. If you want to go creeking, there's no replacement for a creeker. That's why we spent decades refining them.
Sure, it's fun to get into a river runner creek or a play boat if you're Todd Cousin Creek, but when you're gonna creek, you want a creek boat.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the day I see someone shredding the gnar in a full face and a party brat, like a crushed party brat ran it over with a pickup truck.
That's an interesting.
It'll be on the Green River Narrows. It's already happened on the Green River Narrows.
Yeah? Full face and a brat.
I'll bet on it.
Somebody post that.
I'll bet on it. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's it, guys. Have a good one.
See you later.